Hey guys, all right. Today's shave is with my WR2 that I've been using lately. Really enjoying the shaves from it, and also, since it's a new razor to me, running through a lot of my favorite blades with it. And so then putting the information online, maybe it can help some people out there. Blades are very subjective, so it's unlikely that if you found this because you're looking for a Nacet blade and how it performs, it's unlikely that my experience is going to be the same for you. However, maybe if you see a few of my videos that have blades that I enjoy, and if you already know that you like one or two of those blades in there, then other blades that I enjoy may be worth trying. You know, that's kind of the way you can kind of predict that. Not really an individual thing, but if you see a trend that I have some commonalities with you, then maybe other ones that I enjoy in that same razor, if we indeed have the same razor, can help you out. So I'm waving this Duke around, Duke 3, and it's a Simpson, of course. One thing that immediately jumped out at me when I held this brush was the quality of the handle, the smoothness of it. They've just polished it down really nicely. More than a lot of these type resin handles from like Shave Forge is one of the places, and then DS Cosmetics on AliExpress can give these. And the great thing is they're super inexpensive. They're really ergonomic, nice and tall. I like these a lot as a budget handle, and kind of pretty too. But this guy, his finish, they just finished it a little finer. And so that's immediately evident. If you like traditionally, I've used this twice now. It's a loaner from a friend, and I'm privileged to have it and very grateful. And this is my first Simpson that I've ever tried. And this is for folks, at least how I've seen it so far, for folks with a need for a scrubby brush, where not super soft. It's really funny. This almost feels softer on my fingers than it does on my face. It's really weird. But it does a great job of whipping up lather. I love the backbone on this. Nice mid-level. Keeps those tips right on your face. Doesn't oversplay, anything like that. So I'm a big fan of the backbone on this guy. He is a little short. I'm a bowl latherer, and so the handle will get very soapy. All right, so we're going to put him back in the water. I've had him soaking for maybe an hour, because the awesome dude who loaned it to me said this brush does need a good long soak to soften up the tips as much as they'll go. This is uncommon, but I want to be using a Nacet blade. It's uncommon because I'm using a different Nacet blade than my usual. I have one that I've used for 205 times, and I'm putting it for a rest because this mild razor does not handle it very well because it's so smoothed out, and so used so many times. And so I've got two of my favorite blades to try in this razor still, the Nacet and a Feather. And so I definitely will not get a good idea about how a Nacet feels in this razor if I use that old one. So we're breaking out a new one. All right, and the soap as usual, last several days has been R4L, Responders for Life, by Stirling, and it's an awesome scent based on the gray vetiver scent from Tom Ford. I like it a lot. If you like this is a limited edition, I believe, and so it may be hard to find, but if you want to experience this scent, another great performing soap is Fine Accoutrements, and I believe it's the Fresh Vetiver. That is pretty much an identical scent. Love it. Love both of these scents. All right, measured this guy, 220 grams was this. And so it's down 3 grams from when I started about a week ago. Pretty cool. All right. It does fluctuate because yesterday it was back up to 222. And so it's water, the water that's left in it, that sort of thing just changes. But the cool thing is you get a big enough sample, and then that undulation, you can make that kind of disappear. I'm also going to let it dry at the end because that's how it started. And then that'll give us a good start to finish. The trend line in between may be a little weird, but from start to finish we should get some good measurements, and I'll see how much Stirling soap I use each shave. All right, so let me wet my face. bothering me today. It never does that. Did I sleep weird? I don't know. All right, so I'm going to shake out most of the water. I think it was 6 teaspoons of water this guy held in him. Measured that the other day. All right. Here we go. So I did a 20-second load last time. I had lots of lather left over. Let's just do a 15. I'm going to start at the 40-second mark, and there we go. So we'll go to 55. Just medium pressure, medium to light. Not a lot of pressure. Sometimes I press enough to splay a little bit, but this brush doesn't really seem to do that as much. And there we go. And there's our 15 seconds. And see, it doesn't look like too much in the brush, but it will be enough. Rinsing off the threads so that the soap doesn't build up and make it hard to screw the cap on in the future. Here's a picture of a brand spanking new. I started using my first Nacet back in July of last year. And so that was the last time I've seen a brand new one up close. All right. I'm going to throw it in the razor. I have the Reef Point soaps recently kind of had to close their doors. And I was fortunate enough to be a fan of theirs before they closed up. And so I have several of their products. And I managed to get Test Depth, which is a wonderful soap. And it's an aftershave that my wife likes, which is rare. And so I will be using that as my post-shave right here. Nice scent, I enjoy that one. I'm interested to see the commonalities between it and the gray Vetiver soap that we have. All right, face is wet, blade is in. Let's start working on this lather. Maybe by reducing the load time a little bit, the handle will be a little bit less messy, so that can be good. Oh yeah, the main point of this shave, to differ it from yesterday, in addition to the blade change, is to run the soap a little drier. I think it was 1.5 teaspoons, maybe 2 teaspoons that I used yesterday. And I am gonna run this a little thicker, because it could be that this particular brush, you'll have a better face feel if you go with a thicker lather. A lot of brushes are that way. If they're a little rough on you, then maybe, and you want to try something different, go with a little drier lather, and sometimes that can make up for certain amounts of tip feel. So I figured I'd try that out. So let's go ahead and put 1 teaspoon. Let's start with that. Let's see how the lather looks. It's either 1.5 or 2 that I used last time. With Stirling, you can definitely add the water anytime you want. At least in my experience, especially after the initial load. If you add a lot of water in your brush, before you go to load the soap, you probably get a messy load, but you may need to load a little bit longer. I think I like Stirling so much, maybe I should try that wet load method with it, just so that I can have a good reference point. Watched game 3 of the Nationals versus the Cardinals last night. It was the day after it had actually happened, I think, because I watched it kind of, no I did, I watched it on TBS, so that was the actual day it happened. And I like Braves as my main team, but the Washington Nationals are another fun team to watch. And all they have to do is win one more game against the Cardinals to get to the World Series. It's kind of funny because Bryce Harper is a big, awesome batter, and he finally left the team this past season. It would be crazy if they were to get to the World Series right after he left. All right, so this lather is a lot thicker than I usually run my Stirling. Let's see how the brush feels with this. One thing to be careful with is to make sure that this stays on my face for quite a while too, because the wetter lathers tend to bond with your face a lot quicker. The drier ones take a little bit more time. If you don't let it, and that's the term I'm using, bond, because that's just the way it feels. If you don't let that lather kind of soak in and bond with your face, you don't get that nice slick layer to protect you from the blade, which is the whole purpose of the soap. Water. All right, let's try this thick Stirling lather. Yeah, that does make a big difference. A lot less of a scrubby feel than when it's wetter. And as you can see, it's kind of thin, and sometimes that happens on the first pass. And so probably my oily skin kind of breaking down the lather a little bit. So I just go back and get some more. All is well. Still not super soft. I still feel the bristles in a very scrubby way, but it's nicer than when I have my usual Stirling wet lather on. Love this scent, one of my favorites. I also like Mountain Man, which is based on Silver Mountain Water from Creed, I believe. I like Spice, which is kind of an Old Spice blend from them. Arcadia is an awesome cologne type scent, as well as Sandpiper, another couple of my faves. But Executive Man is the Creed Aventus inspired version that they have, and it is tremendous. A lot of makers make an Aventus style soap scent, and so some people are tired of it already. As a matter of fact, Declaration Grooming called his sellout because he felt like he was selling out making the same soap everybody else is doing. But I guess he got asked about it so much because, I mean, he does have really good soap bases, and so people just wanted that awesome scent in his soap base. So it's kind of flattering, you know, in a way. All right, Nacet. Let's see how you do in this. This is a 85 gap Wolfman. I've got two. This is the WR2. I have a WR1 as well, and they run the gaps a little differently for each one, and so I have to stop and remember that my gap on the WR1 is more like 54. You know, 60s and 70s is the gap range that I kind of had with the WR1. With the WR2, it's 1 and 95, and that kind of thing was kind of the gap I was dealing with. I never got to the 1, but I did have a 95, and I swapped it out for this 85, and I am very glad I did. It was a great trade. And one pass down, a little bit of blade feel, but nice cutting, a little bit of resistance. I don't think this blade is quite as good as the Gillette Platinum I used a few days ago. But it's also the first use, and sometimes the first use can be a little rough because the burr, there might be a burr on the edge of the blade. that was put there when manufacturing, and a few uses smooths that out. And so sometimes a few uses later you'll get a better experience. All right. So this isn't too much, thicker than my usual Stirling lather, and that's also something about Stirling. You can run it creamy like this, or even a little bit thicker maybe, or get it nice and slick with plenty of hydration, and it just holds together. Because of the nice backbone here, I'm not getting very much of the root ball. A lot of times with a more relaxed silver tip, it will have less backbone and you start feeling the bump of the root ball. But this has enough backbone to always keep those tips pointed at me and to enjoy. And again, I am kind of feeling around for the brush feel with this, and so this scrubbing operation really only needed to happen the first pass. Rest of the time you can just immediately switch to painting. Plenty of lather plenty of lather I have this time to do the job. And second pass, cross grain. Very comfortable. Will barely feel any hairs being cut. Feels great. Nice comfy rinses between passes. Real slick, luxurious feeling. All right, last pass. So this is a 15-second load, and I'm about to put on the third pass. Now, there's plenty left in there for another pass. So I wonder if I could back this off to a 10-second with this brush. I can definitely do it with my Stirling Badger brush, so it looks like I can do it with this guy too. Yeah, this brush is a lot smoother with two things. A little bit thicker of a lather and nice long silk. This pass really a formality at this point, just because I like it, but there are probably a few little hairs to get, but for the most part, especially on my cheeks here, they have already been taken off. Very comfortable. So this is another good blade I can use with this razor. And now this particular stroke can really help this trouble spot that I have next to my Adam's apple. And one thing you can do sometimes is do a backward stroke like that. Put a little cream back in a certain area for a touch-up. And there we are. Happy camper, final rinse. So that was a creamier lather with Stirling than I usually go for, because I want as much hydration as I can for the slickness and to get it to just bond with my face. And I think that also is what helps me to take a razor like my other Nacet to 205 shaves. because it's just super slick lathers is what I'm going for, even sometimes if they end up too wet and a little drippy and messy. 1 teaspoon of water is all we needed this time for that. Do I think you should measure your water? Well, if you're a geeky, nerdy science type, yeah, maybe so, if you want, if it makes you happy. Most of the time, one thing to do though is just to not really measure like that, especially if you just have 1 or 2 brushes. What you can do is get your brush really wet, then bring it up, give it like 2 shakes, and try that out and see if that much water works well for you. If you need a little bit more water, then instead of giving it 2 shakes, give it 1 or 0 and see if that ends up to be as much water as you need. And so that's an easy way to kind of get some ballpark measurements. I don't really do that because I like to help people with their lathers, and if you don't have the exact size brush that I have, then number of shakes or whatever isn't going to really be relevant to you as you're trying to duplicate. There's some guys who just need help in that regard. They've tried it a lot and they're making some wrong assumption that's putting them in a bad place. And so by giving objective measurements, then that helps people. All right, now for the post shave. It's a splash, alcohol based. I believe these guys do put a few things in there that are more than just alcohol and fragrance. Kind of a green type scent, a little bit, but it's not quite a sweeter green. It's not a punchy green is what I'm trying to say. It's not so bitter and sharp like some of the other green scents there are out there. Matter of fact, I didn't really even pick up the green the first several times I used it. I just kind of picked it up just now, but it just my wife likes it, so kind of a cologne green, if you will. So this guy has all kind of good stuff. Oh, it does have a load of menthol. Oh no, they don't really have too much. Fragrance, glycerin, menthol, and alcohol and water. So not too much skin food in there for you. All right. Excellent shave. Really happy with that one. The Nacet did well. Just consistent feel. This razor and others with similar designs clamp down so close to the edge of the blade there, you can see that it's just a consistent feel that doesn't chatter. It doesn't rough you up as much as some of the other blades that only hold the base of the blade back, maybe right here. I've just discovered, and maybe that's another reason why I can make a blade last for so long, is I don't have any of those other kind of razors that, I mean, I do, I just don't like them and use them as much as this kind. So what I do afterwards is I have a little hand towel over here, and I put a lot of times the blade will come off on the bottom of this, so I'll place it down and then pull the base plate off along the edge of the blade. That way it doesn't actually touch the edges. I guess along in the same direction as the blade is what I'm trying to say. All right. Another excellent shave, and got to experience the Nacet. Great match. Probably even better once this blade gets a few uses under it. And I got to experience the Simpson Duke 3 with a little thicker of a lather, and it's much more comfortable. So big win there. All right. Now, right now, the aftershave is all over. One thing you can do just to kind of test the waters as to whether these guys are a good match, because often the scent of any aftershave will overshadow a soap because they're just not designed to compete like that. Go back here and smell your soap. Wow, yeah, this guy kind of, he doesn't interfere, but there's nothing really that stands out in this guy. Let's say that the aftershave here, the test step, is really overshadowing pretty much all aspects of this. Now, I love this in terms of a scent. My wife doesn't. but I would not have a problem. I would thoroughly enjoy wearing this as a cologne or as an aftershave. A little bit of the vetiver is coming through, but it's very muted. So just a little scent education for your brain when you're done with your shave. Sometimes something that's intriguing and surprising is when I have a certain aftershave on, I take my soap and I smell it, I get something totally different because there's something in the aftershave that's muting a portion of the notes of the soap. And so then what comes through out of the soap is just a part of it that I wasn't really aware of because of those other things that were present. So sometimes it's very interesting to see what happens. All right, happy shaves. I hope there was something here for you that helped you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care.